This is episode 45 of Spiritual AF with Pixie Rose, the podcast for people going on their spiritual journey, knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Before we get into this episode, I wanted to share with you all about my intuitive courses. So Enhance Your Intuition is designed as an 8-week course to enhance your innate psychic abilities. This course introduces you to new spiritual tools and practices and helps you find your strengths. This course will soon be launching on my new course website, so jump on over to pixiesteps.com.au. That website is in the show notes. And sign up to my email list so that you will be the first to know when this course is running live. And as a free gift to you, when you do sign up for my email list, you will get all the information you need to know on how to balance out your chakras in 7 days. Now back to this online intuitive course, unlocking all of the clairs. So your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, you learn all of them and how you can strengthen those clairs. Dream interpretation, so how to do a dream interpretation reading a person's energy and aura, reading the environment, photo readings, the enchanted realms. We go through psychometry, what that is and how to do it. We go through mediumship. This may be something that's natural to you, or it may be something you want to unlock. I teach you how to do readings with your oracle cards, as well as your tarot cards. We go through past lives, and in this topic, you get to experience a online past life regression with me. We go through the Akashic records. We go through channeling and how to unlock this ability. I teach you how to tune into the collective and do a collective reading. And then we finish off with high vibrational food and energy. And I go through all the different things that may be lowering your vibration and how to start raising your energy and your frequency using food, and going over that everything is energy and that everything we're exposed to impacts us. So as I mentioned before, if you're interested in these courses, I have a few going up there on my website. Jump on over to my site and sign up for my email list. Today on the podcast, I have Marla Martenson, an award-winning author, spiritual life coach, matchmaker, energy healer, and intuitive reader. Marla teaches women how to step into their divine confidence, power, self-love, and magic. So welcome, Marla, to Spiritual AF.
Thanks, Pixie. I'm so excited.
So first, I love to kick off. So first of all, I actually met you and discovered your work through my intuitive courses. So I'm so excited to see the work that you're doing. You also do your own course as well, intuitive courses. And of course, I will link all of your links in the show notes. But I'd love to hear first a bit about your spiritual journey, how you started doing the work that you're doing today.
Yeah. So, gosh. Well, I since I was in my late 20s, I was into metaphysics. So I started with Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Those books from this metaphysician from back in the 20s. So that book was like from 1925, and I was reading these things and started, with Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and The Course in Miracles and all of that. And so that was like in the late 80s, and then the 90s and the early 2000s and everything. It was more metaphysical stuff. And when I was a kid, I loved the magical things and always had those aspirations to be psychic or, things like that. So then in 2013, my friend Julie and I started on this quest I wrote about this in The Buddha Made Me Do It, A Field Guide to Enlightenment. It's my first spiritual memoir. And that was chronicled a year when Julie and I decided to start taking classes in Los Angeles all around. Just we took like pendulums, candle magic, crystal healing. I got certified in Reiki. All used the communication board, and then I started delving into tarot cards. And so it's been really since 2013. I got attuned to Reiki. I got like all these energetic attunements for different healing modalities, which really I would say those energetic attunements opened me up to be able to channel, to hear my angels, to start giving angel readings. And I've been diligently working on that. And then now the mediumship is coming. But when I'm doing my readings, so sometimes an animal or somebody's loved one will come in, and I'll say, who's Gary, or who's, and oh, that's and that's really exciting. So it really has been opening up since late 2013 in that way.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds like you've always been on this path, right? Like, yeah,
I've always been on the path, and I didn't know exactly how to get on it. But then I started going to all these, Los Angeles is very woo woo. So there's expos and there's classes and places to go and festivals. So I started to go at all of these things, and then you meet more people, and then I'd start working with different healers. Then I started getting into plant medicine journeys, shamanic journeys, going deep into the other dimensions. I've done that about a dozen times, and I'm still working. That really opens me up more. Start channeling ETs and off-planet guides, and it's like it just doesn't end. It just keeps expanding.
That's exactly right. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, and now I'm working on the psychic hotlines, as well as taking readings on my website, and I just love it. It's like so many people need some clarity, or just need somebody to talk to, and it feels so great to be able to talk it through with them, or give them a perspective that maybe they didn't see before.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe this is the most soul fulfilling work. So
Yeah.
another thing that you do is like the spiritual life coaching. So I'd love to talk about your boundary coaching. So how did you learn the importance of healthy boundaries as a self-love practice?
Well, so the way I came into coaching was I've been a matchmaker for 20 years. So I have my own business. I'm a professional matchmaker. The men are my paying clients, and they're the high end men. It's more like the millionaire matchmaker. So the guys are professionals looking for a long-term relationship or marriage. And I worked in a high end place in Beverly Hills for many years. Then I went out on my own, and that's why I also, it's kind of very shallow kind of work, where they're into the, oh, is she young enough, does she look good enough, is her cup size big enough, or whatever, and I would be like, so and the men weren't very coachable, because they wanted what they wanted. And so I delve into the spiritual side of my life more to balance it out. So the women are in my database for free. So if there's any lovely ladies out there that want to be in the database, you can contact me. But and so many of the women, so I've been in this business 20 years, and I'll look at some of the women in the database and think, gosh, this amazing woman has been single for the last 20 years. She's still with me. I still know her. She's still looking for the guy. And there's a lot of them, or they'll get in a relationship and it didn't work out, and then they'd come back. So I thought I would really love to help these women. I thought it would be a lot more satisfying, because women who would hire a coach would want to change, would want to work on themselves. And so I love Hay House, publishing. And so I'd listen to Hay House radio all the time. And there's this teacher on there called Nancy Levin. She's an author and master coach. And she has a book. She has many books, but one of them is Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free. And she decided to start Levin Life Coach Academy. And that was in late 2019. So I thought, oh my God, she's such an amazing coach. Everything she says is amazing. When people call in, how can I be like her? And then when I found out she was certifying coaches, I signed up and did a 1-year certification program for boundaries. And boundaries, I found out, is a lot of people think setting a boundary, it's setting it with somebody else. Like, I told them not to do this and they better not do it because I said that's my boundary. That's not what a boundary is. A boundary is what we set with ourselves. So let's say a woman keeps dating men who are abusive or not available or married or whatever. So it would be, you would set that boundary with yourself. I'm not going to date married men anymore, or I'm not going to date men who show signs of, verbal abuse or whatever it is, or unavailability. And that's what you set with yourself. Or if it's somebody, let's say it's a roommate who doesn't wash their dishes, it's still setting a boundary with yourself. What are you going to do? So you'll express it to them. I'm tired of you. I feel disrespected when you leave your dishes in the sink. Would you, would you start washing them? Let's say they said no. So then you're going to decide, well, what are you going to do about it? Because they're not going to hold your boundary. It's not their boundary. So they're not going to hold it. So then you decide, okay, well, since I feel disrespected that you keep piling up dishes in the sink, I'm going to buy paper plates, and you can use, you could use those, or, so you decide that there's what it's because instead of being a victim to people's behaviors or personalities, we decide what we will or will not tolerate, what we will or will not accept in our lives. And then we decide what choice we're going to make to rectify that, move out, not have a roommate, say we're going to use paper plates, whatever. There's a myriad of things. And then you hold it. So it can go with anything, with relationships, with business, with everything. And it's so important with ourselves. Maybe you have a boundary about, I'm not going to eat potato chips anymore, or I'm not going to eat after 8 o'clock at night, or I'm going to turn my phone off, at 6 or whatever. So these are things we work on too, just changing little habits. So those are boundaries we set with ourselves. And it really changes your whole life. It gives you more self-respect. It makes you feel like you have control. And we're not just a victim of circumstance, of other people's behaviors.
Yes, definitely.
So I have an 8-week program and I take them through, and we work on shadow work, codependency. A lot of these things contribute to why we don't set boundaries or feel we can't set boundaries, or those feelings, and really change our whole life.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you've just mentioned that obviously boundaries is really helpful when we do step into that victim archetype. Is there anything else that we can do in that victim mentality?
Yeah, I always played the victim. I mean, in relationships, I'd live
Me
with
too.
guys, so I'd marry them and for years, and I'd be oh, they're treating me like this. They're yelling at me. They're doing this. They're doing that. And all the time, now I realize I have a choice. Maybe it's painful, but I have the choice to either leave, get counseling, accept it as it is, or, we do have choices. And I always thought, well, they're doing this to me, or I can't. And so I was totally playing the victim. And now, after at this age I am, it's like I feel like I'm a late bloomer or a late learner, but it's, never too late to switch that dynamic. And so realizing and just saying, well, I'm not a victim. I have choices. And if I can't, kick my own butt to make a choice, then there's some work to do. There's some looking. Most of us have some blocks or issues that happened from the age, maybe we were from 10 years old or younger, is where we get these underlying commitments to ourselves. Maybe our parents divorced, maybe we had alcoholic parents, maybe we were abused by somebody, maybe bullied in school, whatever it was. There's something that happened to most of us. If you'd ask anybody, and somebody's had something where we've set up a dynamic, an idea. So let's say the father left your mother when you were 12 or 10, and then you subconsciously say, well, they don't stick around. Men are not, reliable or whatever. And so that will be your energy, then will attract men who don't stick around.
Yeah.
So it's all connected like that. So we got to go and clean that up and change our beliefs around that.
Yeah, definitely. And even I feel like this is almost a collective thing that a lot of our collective consciousness has been experiencing over 2020 and 2021, subconsciously even, because when you go into that victim, we're really giving our power away, aren't we? So to get out of it, We got to take
Yeah.
back our power, and that's, reminding ourselves that we do have choice.
Yeah. Oh, we've
Yeah.
allowed, right? Oh, you have to wear a mask here. You have to do this. Now you have to stay in your house. Now you can come out. Now you can do this. Go get this vaccine. Go do that. Oh, it's just like, oh yeah. What did they say on the news to do? What did the
Yeah.
mayor say or the governor say? Just know, like go inside. What does your guidance say as a sovereign being?
Exactly.
Instead of, yeah, just rule, oh, okay, I need to pump myself with these chemicals to be
Yep.
safe, or I need to go do this. You've got to We have this guidance system, but people were very quick to fall right into place.
Yeah,
All of that.
definitely. And yeah, even that reminding us all we have choice. Even
Mhm.
if you go into a shop that says you have to do this, the choice is you don't have to go into that shop.
So,
You can
right,
take your
right.
business elsewhere, Same as if we do get sick, we could be a victim and be like, oh, my government didn't protect me. Or we could take our power back and say, oh, I could look after my health, actually. I have choices. There's things that I can do to look after myself here.
Right. Yep. A lot of people did. They're like, what supplements do I need to take? I need to lose a few pounds. I need to get my diabetes under control, or I need to save more money. Or it made people look at too, how they're going to take care of themselves financially, because some places
Yes.
say, well, you lost the job, maybe the place closed, or maybe you can't work here if you don't get the jab, or
Yep.
you've got to do this to work, to even work, to live. So people are like, okay, well, how can I be more self-sufficient, as a sovereign being?
Exactly. Yeah,
Side.
definitely. We always have a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've mentioned a little bit about the matchmaker offering, but could you tell us a little bit more about this? So is this on your website? This is something that women or anyone can sign up to?
It's on the website. I have a very small list of men right now. They do tend to be on the older side. So I don't have, like, a woman could contact me and I'll put her in the database for free. I don't know that. And it's really pretty much United States, not any other countries, that I have, male clients. And so I'm moving more into the coaching and all my magical work, and the matchmaking is just I mean, I have done it for 20 years. I still do it, but I don't have a ton of people. So, but yeah, sure. It's on my website and you can reach out. And if I feel that you'd be a good fit for it, I'll, ask, well, if you want to reach out to me, send me some photos, recent photos, your age, location, all of that. So yeah, my guys tend to, when they join, they tend to be 50s, 60s and 70s age
Yep.
group, pretty much. Yeah. The older
So are
guys.
these are more spiritually inclined people?
No,
No, just
not
anyone.
necessarily.
Yep.
The guys, we do get a lot of Christian guys with a Christian background, or no, they're not. They're the businessmen. They're
Yeah,
not. As
right.
I get a few spiritually inclined guys. The women tend to be. So that's not. See, that's why I delve. It tends to be a little more shallow. So I go the other way with my spiritual stuff. So that's just like
Yeah.
a regular business, where it's
Yeah,
not
okay,
really
gotcha.
infused the spirituality in that too much.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And you've got your podcast as well, right? Did you want to tell us
Yeah.
a bit about your podcast and the things that you
Yeah.
explore over there?
Yeah, so I've got the Mystical Matchmaker podcast, which is blogged on Blog Talk Radio, and then it's sent out to iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and you can subscribe to that. And it's not all about matchmaking. There are some things about relationships and stuff, but I have people on there about energy healing and about coaching and about and amazing authors. All sorts of uplifting things. And I do readings sometimes on there. People can call in and get a reading. So it's a lot of fun. And then I have a YouTube channel. It's under Marla Martenson, but I call it Cosmic Conversations. So that's fun. I've been doing that for quite a few years. And I interview a lot of cool psychics and, mediums and different things, different kinds of esoteric topics on there. Mediumship, and then channeling, stuff like that. Channeler.
Yeah.
I'm really into channeling. I love channelers. So I've interviewed quite a few channelers.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I've only really been exposed to for maybe 2 or 3 years now. So it's still kind of quite new, and it's really interesting. So do you channel yourself?
I channel some. I do channel my guides will come through. I'm not a trance channel where I
Yeah.
leave my body and then somebody else takes over, but I will channel the information. So Saturdays, not every Saturday, but most Saturdays I do a magical message circle, and it's tonight. I've got one at 6 p.m. Pacific in the States, and I keep it to about 8 people, and we come on Zoom, and I start off with some energy work for everybody, and then I go around and give everybody a message, and a lot of times I'll be channeling the guides, a message for them, each person, or I'll pull some cards. And so I'll use my abilities there. I started the channeling. It really was hearing my guardian angel when after I got attuned, all the energy energetic attunements. I was on the board, people call it a Ouija board, was
Yes.
communication board. So I'd use that board, and then it would be coming through. And then now when I use the board, I don't even look. It's just a focal point. It's kind of,
Yeah.
and then I can go on and do automatic writing. So I'll go on the computer and start typing what I hear. And when I first started giving angel readings, the person maybe would say what they wanted to tune into, or maybe they'd say, just give me a general. And I would tune into their energy and just start writing what I heard and type up a message and then email it to them. And
Yeah.
and it was very great stuff coming through. And then now what I do is I will record it on my iPhone audio, and I email the audio for the people, and it's a little bit longer. And that's all on my website under angel readings. But I love doing that. And
Mm.
the information, then I get feedback. They always give me feedback. Oh yeah, that was accurate. That was spot on, or that was this and that. And so I've been able to, because I didn't know, you think, or am I just making this up? You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
So I always
yeah.
wanted feedback. And when they're given the feedback, yes, that's accurate. And then okay, well, it's coming through.
Yeah, definitely. And I can also attest for you as well, like throughout the course, like, yeah, your
Oh,
readings are definitely very accurate. And yeah, so, which I do think sometimes it's hard to find. And that's why I am excited about, when I see you've got your own courses, intuitive courses, helping people connect to their intuition. Because there is a lot of people that are wanting to do this professionally. And I think that's great. Like, I highly recommend it. But yeah, it's so sad when you hear of people that have a bad experience with a reader. So I think it's great to go for a reader that somebody's recommended, or yeah. So I can definitely recommend Marla. And as I mentioned, your website and everything's going to be in the show notes, so it'll be very easy for anyone listening to connect with you if they'd like a reading, or they'd like to check out your coaching, which sounds incredible as well. So
yeah,
maybe,
I was going to say I have a new coaching program. It's 8 weeks, and it's called Reinvention Coaching. And that's
mm,
to reinvent yourself, because so many people are reinventing themselves after
yes.
the last couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. So yeah, definitely check out Marla's website. She's got some really great things going on there. Let's go back to relationships. So let's talk about red flags in relationships. So how can we recognize when we've got a red flag in a relationship rather than when we are self-sabotaging the relationship?
Well, when we're in one, I mean, when we're already in there's some people they're not getting what they emotionally need. Maybe the person is, super critical or argumentative. I mean, what I'm seeing a lot of people complaining about is narcissistic tendencies in people. I'm seeing a lot, and there's so many YouTube channels on it. I mean, and there's thousands of people commenting, and it seems to be almost like an epidemic, right? So
Mm,
this is something I'm seeing where people will, and it's not really, I don't like to diagnose somebody as like that's a narcissist, but there are these tendencies that they, you know, qualities that they have. There's a list, and you can look them up, and people will say, I've been in this relationship for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or 5 years, and they're doing this, and this, and I'm in a group on Facebook for narcissists. Dealing with that, I've dealt with it myself. I've come across it in my readings a lot, so I really like to learn about it and get the temperature of what's going on with women in relationships. And so many of them are, the things that they're going through are horrendous, the treatment that they're accepting and taking, and then again they'll write it out and say, this is happening, he's gaslighting me, he's doing this, but they're not, it's just like victim mode.
Yeah.
And it is hard. Sometimes maybe you have kids, or maybe you're not financially stable, or maybe it's just so too emotionally draining, and it's hard to it's easy for somebody to say, oh, just leave, all these red flags, just leave. It's easier said than done many times. So I just want to acknowledge that. But at the same time, when you're seeing these things, that's when we have to do that boundary work, that self-love work, self-respect work, and not live in fear that we'll never meet somebody else, or we'll be alone, or we can't handle it. We can't, take care of ourselves. So those red flags, you can feel them. Actually, they're like, but you can feel it in your gut. If you just go in and say, is this right? Is this what's going on here? Is this what I would want for myself? And then sometimes I'll say to women, they'll call me on the hotlines and explain what's going on with some guy that's he cheated, but is he coming back? Or I can't let go, or he's doing this or that, or he's on drugs. Then I say, hey, take a deep breath. If you had a daughter, or maybe you do have a daughter, is this what you would advocate for her? Would you say, this is the kind of man I'd love you to be with? Would you want your daughter to be going through this or accepting this for herself? And they'd say, no, I wouldn't. And so, shine that back on yourself. And do you want to be in this situation, or allow yourself? Because I see it a lot. So many women are struggling with this self-worth, but once you start doing that and chipping away at those doubts and fears, and knowing that you can, hey, no, this is not acceptable. This is how I will accept to be treated. And I love something that Nancy Levin says. It's something just like, I'm not available for criticism, or I'm not available for this. I'm not available for this treatment or this situation. And instead of saying, stop doing that, it's just like, I'm not available for this. So if you to yell at me, or you continue to, then I'm going to remove myself. Or, it can be very simple. And in Nancy's book about setting boundaries will set you free, or what you learn with me in the coaching, is actually we go through actual scripts of what you can say, how to say it, how to, all of it. So you practice, and it gives you, because a lot of times we want to set a boundary, we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Or that it was someone. We want to say it tactfully, empowering, not, being rude or yelling, or it sounded like a bitch, we want it.
100%. And even sometimes I feel like, for me, if my boundaries are being crossed, it's almost confusing, because it's like, oh, this doesn't feel good, and I need to tell them that this doesn't feel good, but I actually don't know how to say it. And so that's really, really helpful. And also, you mentioned that gut instinct, so I feel like that's a big part of that, trying to
moving out from here.
Yes.
I had a woman call me today, and she says, oh, what's going to happen with this guy? Do you think, how does he feel? I asked all my girlfriends and other advisors, and they're all telling me something, but my instinct says da 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 da. Yes. And I said, listen, I pulled some cards, and just my experience in dating and stuff. And I said, your instinct is right on. You don't need to spend more money on advisors. You don't need to ask any more friends, because they're just coming, their perspective is their perspective, what they've been through, what they're intellectually, they don't have any emotional connection to this. They're just telling you, oh yeah. A lot of people would say, oh, what somebody did that the first time, I'd be out of there, or no, because they can say that because they have no connection to it. They have no emotion attached.
Definitely.
It's easy for them to say. So it's moving from the head down to the heart, and then it just comes up. Our answers come up. Now, whether we can implement them or not, that's another thing. But we get those answers, and we start journaling, and we start setting our own boundaries with ourselves, and then we get empowered to make those choices we need to make for ourselves.
Definitely, our intuition always knows, and I think this is why I think it's so important for everyone to spend time on their own, because often it's really clear, and your intuition is really, really clear when you're on your own. And then when you're with that person, it might get really cloudy again. But yeah, your intuition always knows. And sometimes it's just maybe a bit of validation. But that's definitely.
Yeah, you can call an advisor, and a lot of times they'll call me, and then they're just like, oh, thank you for confirming what I thought, or they
Yeah.
just, want a confirmation, and that's fine. That's great. But when we ask too many people, it's
Yes.
muddled. It's not going to help you really.
Y-
It'll just confuse you, because ultimately we're the only ones that can make the decision for ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd love to hear now, what is your ultimate self-love practice?
Oh, well, I love going into the forest. So I've been spending a lot of time in Seattle, my hometown. I live in Los Angeles, but I've been since my mother's a little older now, I've been spending a lot of time here. And I split my time, and I was like yesterday in the forest most of the day. And up here they've got the beautiful trees with the moss hanging off it.
Mm,
Just that when it's sunny, it smells like warm blackberries. It's just amazing. And I'll go sit on the ground and I'll do some energy work, maybe with a friend, or take my dog and just listen to the birds and connect with myself and with nature. And that's, to me, is so healing and so great. I just feel like I'm with the fairies and just connecting with
yes.
everything. Yeah.
Definitely sounds like fairyland. That's my
Yeah,
first thing that I
exactly.
do as well. So, how can we recognize our needs? And then how can we fulfill these needs ourselves? Do you have a formula within your coaching around needs?
Yes. Well, one of the things is we develop. So I have my clients decide on a morning practice and an evening practice. So the morning practice could be doing a few yoga moves and meditating, before you get going on your day. It could be taking a hot bath. It could, whatever. You have your morning routine. They're called a morning routine and evening routine. The evening routine is to connect back to yourself. So before you just, shut your computer and go to bed or watch Netflix, what are you going to do? Is it going to be 10 minutes of meditation? Is it going to be like a hot bath, or whatever that is, whatever you want to do? Maybe you want to dance to some 70s music before you go to bed, or whatever, or sit with your dog, or whatever. Give yourself some energy work. Pull a card for yourself. But it's those. That's how you set up. What was the original? Wait, the question is, what is it?
How can we recognize our needs? Like
Oh, our
sometimes,
needs. Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So those
sometimes
needs.
women, especially, are so like they have never practiced self love. They're in these unhealthy relationships. And,
Right.
the first question is like, what do you need? And like, I feel like that's a hard question sometimes.
Yeah, so that's going to help us because it's reconnecting to ourselves and focusing on ourselves. And also, we talk about how selfish is not selfless. Selfish is a good thing because we need to fill our cup. Somebody was talking to me today about didn't feel worthy all the time, deserving of a lot of money, or deserving of things. And if you look at deserving, she was like, well, I don't know if I deserve that because I did this, this, and this. I've done that. I was promiscuous in earlier years. But it is, we come into this body, into this 3D reality to experience all of those things. We've mapped out our theme, what we're going to be, some experiences we're going to have. And maybe you had to, get arrested for shoplifting when you're 15, or you had to, get in crash your car or drink a little too much, whatever. And then that's okay. It doesn't mean we're not deserving of anything. There's not that in that. If we think of it that way, it's like, okay, if I do this, I'll be worthy of that. That's like that Santa Claus kind of thing, or that when religion, when it's like that, yeah, God is this man on a cloud and he's watching everything you do. And then you're going to go to hell if you don't do everything right, or follow these rules. So if you can scrap that, clear that off your plate, and just know that you are this beautiful spark of the divine that came down in to experience things. And it's okay. Whatever is you do, and we learn and grow and adjust. And what it's not all about just sacrificing ourselves for someone else and being a
Yeah.
martyr. It's
Yes.
about experiencing everything we came to experience. And through that, you're going to spark other people, like Pixie, with what you're doing. You're shining your light. You're teaching people how to do things. You're shining by example. And then, and then you inspire other people to rise to their level and learn it. Oh, wow, look what she's doing. So you can't be poor enough to help somebody else not be poor. You can't be sick enough to get someone well. You've got to be have money or success or whatever it is that you feel that you're going to shine, health and radiance and excitement and charisma, and then you can help others. So that's how we're
Yes.
going to help everything. Yeah, not by, oh, I don't deserve anything, but who's going to want to follow somebody like that, or
Yeah.
be around them even. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of the moon and spiritual practices and connecting to your divinity, I invite you to my Lunar Temple membership portal. I offer online circles each week through each moon phase to help teach you about moon energy, how it impacts us, spiritual practices that you can utilize for a lifetime, an opportunity to receive intuitive guidance, and so much more. The membership is only $25 per month in Australian prices, and as members you get exclusive channelings and meditations, discounts on my other offerings, as well as an opportunity to get your hands on my up-and-coming oracle cards, Elemental Love, first, to be the first people to join the Lunar Temple. Check out my link in the show notes and connect with me today. So, what is the difference between people pleasing and putting yourself last? And so that versus being kind to others and putting yourself first. So you're talking, a little bit about like the selfish, and I fully agree with you. I often say to people, you need to be selfish. And women especially, like I think men are so naturally good at being selfish, and that sounds terrible, right? But I'm like, we all need to take a lesson from them and learn how to be selfish. So yeah, can you expand a little bit on that question?
Yeah, people pleasing instead of, like, let's say you're out. I would just say, let's say you're a mother, and then people think, oh, you have to give everything for your kids, and you can't. I remember years ago, my aunt, she was never going to the gym or anything like that. She goes, well, I'll go to the gym when my kids are grown. I'm like, what do you talk? What do you know? You need to be healthy and strong. And so people pleasing and putting everybody else first. And then you're just like this wet rag. It's not, just like I was saying before, you need your vitality and your strength so that you can be an example and be there to step in to help when people do need help. But we also, that's some codependency when we are trying to manage someone else's experience, when we're trying to, I used to do that. I was so codependent. I was like, oh my God, they can't do this without me. I need to help them. They're not eating right, or they're not doing, I need to step in. But we have to take a deep breath and allow this other sovereign being, this other adult, or to handle their life, to make their decisions, to handle their feelings, instead of trying to manage it. Oh no, I don't want their feelings to be hurt, or they might feel this, that. Allow them. That's their journey. That's their feelings.
Exactly. So, and we're actually, what is the word? Like we're doing them an injustice by trying to protect them from this lesson that they might need to learn. Or another thing is, I had a friend who was like the definition of people pleasing, and what would often happen in her attempt of trying to please everybody, she would upset everybody, because you actually can't please everybody.
No, you'll be running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Yeah, exactly. Saying yes to everybody and letting other people down, and it goes back to the boundaries again as well, doesn't it?
And then they don't respect you.
Exactly.
It's like you're just really don't. It's like the people that really command respect are people who have their crap together, and they're living their life in with their head held high with this leader energy. Like I'm taking care of my stuff, and I'll allow you to take care of you. And then if somebody needs your help or advice, that's fine. It's not like you're just this cold, callous person, like, handle your own stuff. Of course, you're going to help if needed, but we got to let everybody muddle through their own life, their own karma, whatever, their own agenda that they came through to experience.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I've like, one thing that I always say to my kids is to be kind, but being kind does not mean doing everything that everyone wants you to do, like just, doing as you're told all the time. I think it's also an aspect of, you can be kind to others, but is it impacting yourself? Is doing this favor for somebody else going to impact your well-being? Then it's not really being kind to yourself, really. And that's who we should be kind to first.
Yeah, like if you're somebody always wants a ride to the airport, or they always want you to go pick up the kids at, the carpool or whatever, and you're exhausted, and you always say yes, okay, it's okay, I'll do it, instead of saying, well, no, okay, to really manage the energy in my body and honor myself, I'll do it once a week, but I'm not committing to, or I'm not available to do it every day of the week.
I'm
It's
not available.
so
Yeah.
afraid to say no. It's just like, you know what, thank you. Or maybe they'll ask you, this is like when I was in high school, I remember a guy would ask me to the dance, a dance or something. And I would say, and wasn't interested in the guy. I didn't want to go, but I was too afraid to hurt his feelings. And I'd say yes. And then I'd think, how can I get out of this now? Now I got to get out of it. I said yes. Instead of just honoring yourself and that other person, you're so kind to ask me, I'm going to pass, I don't feel it, or I'm going to honor myself, and you could, and allow you to ask somebody else. Or we're so afraid to just speak our truth because the other person might be offended or upset.
Yeah.
So that's, again, allowing them to, if they're upset by your truth, you don't want to do something, that's their problem. That's their issue to work through. Then they've got a trigger that they should work through, but don't take it on. We don't need to take it on for ourselves.
Yes, 100%. Another
It
sort
gives you
of,
freedom.
yeah, another thing that I've learnt recently is giving your sacred no. Like, it is sacred, and allowing people to receive your sacred no and do whatever they need to do in response to that. Like, that's powerful. So again, if we're just saying yes to people because we're scared to say no, we're doing them an injustice as well, of course, to ourselves.
I've had people over the years, a couple people ask me for money. One person even asked me for like $8,000 or something. I'll pay you back in a week or whatever for some business. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, I'm not a bank. I'm not going to risk that. So I'm just like, no, I don't do that. I'm not comfortable with that. I hope you find, what you need. But, and just say it instead of like, oh my God, and, oh, how can I say no? And or you can always, if there's something somebody asked you and you don't know the words or something, you can say, I'm going to sleep on that, and I'll get back to you about it tomorrow. You don't have to, we don't have to give answers. I mean, we always think we have to give an answer like the second later for anything. And we don't. If someone asks you on a date or anything, you can say, thank you for asking me. I'm going to think about this. I'll get back to you tonight or tomorrow. Or
take that pause. I don't know if it's Dr. Wayne Dyer or there's somebody that often talks about taking that pause and going back to that people pleasing thing. That's a real that's a fawning response. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So it's a trauma response. So like, that's another thing. If you're, really struggling with your boundaries, anyone listening, if you're doing that people pleasing behavior, this may be a trauma response even, because I know that for me personally, I can slip into that fawning response. And I found myself in the recent months, being asked something by someone who triggers me, and I'll go into that victim and be like, oh, I don't have a choice. I have to do this thing that I'm not comfortable in doing. And then, I'll leave the conversation and then take that pause and be like, okay, no, I'm going to gather that strength. I'm going to call them back and I'm going to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I feel bad. I feel like I should do this thing for you, but no, I don't want to. And I need to be firm in that. So,
and then working through that part about feeling bad, you don't
yes.
even, that's a little extra there you can work on, and to say, I feel bad, but it's even kind of weak, right? So getting to the point where we can say, I'm honoring myself and my feelings, that my intuition tells me that I'm going to pass on this. And that's
Definitely.
it. No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. You've got so many.
And then they're like, maybe they can even try to talk you into it.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. Do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing too, codependent. Let's say somebody says, oh, I feel terrible about something. Maybe something happened and they're going to, oh, don't feel bad. Don't. They're telling you, sometimes we need to feel whatever we're feeling. And we tell people, don't cry. Don't. Oh, no, don't. Oh, I feel this. No, don't feel that way. That's something humans tend to do too. No, they're telling us, we're telling each other how to feel. Everybody's different.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think ultimately, especially like I said, because this is not just a individual issue with boundaries, I do think collectively we have a major problem with boundaries. We have a major problem with this power play, and this is part of why I want to do this work and why I am doing this work and why I love seeing people like you doing this work, especially this boundary coaching. It's so important and so powerful because we do need to regain our power, our autonomy and our sovereignty. That's so important, and it's been completely disregarded at the
Well,
moment.
we absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not easy either. Like that's the other thing. Like it sounds easy, which is why again, like, for anyone who's really resonating to what we're talking about, yeah, go and book in with Marla, do this boundary coaching because it's not easy. It's not an easy practice to start enforcing boundaries if you've never done it before.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the people that I've worked with so far, the women, they've been contacting me saying, "Oh my God, my life is so different.
Yeah.
I've been able to say no. I've been able to, some of them are in dating and trying to find the right person, and it's been so freeing and empowering for them to see, no, that's actually not, like even on a first date, those red flags you'd say, like somebody'd say, well, I'll give him another chance, or he's making, oh, the guy was making racist comments and stuff, but well, I'll give him another chance, or he's doing this, or making, it's inappropriate, this or that. Well, sometimes we'll disregard and go on a second, third, fourth, and we might say, hey, that's not, doesn't align with me, I don't want it. So we're not a good fit, but I wish you the best.
Yeah.
It's very easy, it just starts to become more natural to say, I think I'll say no on this, and then we're just available for that right energy to come through for us,
Yes.
which is beautiful.
Yes.
And it's just practice. And I practice with them. I go through and practice their scripts. We call it scripts, what they're going to say. Okay, if you were in this situation, or if there's something they really want to bring and work on, we'll work on it. How am I going to say this or react? What kind of boundaries? And it's fun. It starts getting a lot of fun. I love making those scripts because I didn't know what to say, and I would say the wrong things and feel terrible. And sometimes I'd say something, and years ago, and I'd lay in bed all night kicking myself, like, oh, you idiot, how'd you say it that way? And so this just gives us some ease and grace and confidence.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Another thing that I've been discussing with my sister recently, she's going through a breakup because she's finally putting up some boundaries. She's been in a codependent relationship for a long, long time. And I said to her, and I'd love to hear what you think about this as well. Another thing that's difficult about putting in those boundaries and stopping the people pleasing is being made out to be the bad guy. So when you put up that boundary and you say, no, you need to move out, no, you need to, take your stuff or you need to do this, and then the other person reacts and there's that guilt that comes up, and then, there's that worry like, oh, they're telling other people that I've done this to them, and there's this feeling of I'm the bad guy now. So what
Mm.
can you say on that?
Yeah, I mean, people will, if they say something to somebody else, it's not that, so let them, it's okay, it's, they're not going to remember that or cut you off or anything. They see that this person's hurt and they're coming from a hurt place, and so he feels like a victim. And it could even be like a conscious uncoupling where you say, look, I'm not going to stay in this situation anymore, so one of us has got to get out. This is my place that I rented, so I guess it's going to have to be you. If there's some assistance that you need for me to help you look for a place, or brainstorm to
Yeah,
make it easier, I'll help you with that, but you're an adult, so
I'm
instead
gonna
of
do a whole episode on conscious uncoupling, actually.
yeah, and having that, maybe they were a real jerk, or maybe they cheated on you, or abused you, but you can still exit with grace and give that
Yes.
person some dignity too. And unless you're in a dangerous situation that you got to get them right out. If you
Yep.
can say, okay, well, let's make a timeline here, and what do you need to get out? But I am making that choice that I am staying here, and you are going to be, having to move. You just
Yes.
make that choice and you say it. It's not being good guy, bad guy. It's what do I need for my life to be. Women get breast cancer. They get, have nervous breakdowns, anxiety when relationships are constantly not in alignment and not good, and just grinding at it, instead of just saying, breathing through it and say, okay, this is for me to be okay, for me to really be healthy and happy. This
Yeah.
is what I need. And yeah, it hurts. It's hard. It's not easy stuff, but we can do it. We can breathe through it, and we can step up and say, hey, I'm a conscious adult here, and I'm going to do what I've got to do. And afterwards, oh my God, she'll be saying, man, I handled that like a badass, and I feel so good. And he didn't implode. He didn't end up on the street in a gutter. He's
Yep.
okay. He
Yeah.
managed, got an apartment, or is with family or friends or whatever, and it'll be okay. But yeah, stand and
Definitely.
feel like, okay, if I can do this here, I can do this with a rude boss or whatever the situation. You start feeling like you're handling it.
Yeah. Another thing that I learnt in my recent experience with some boundary work was, I don't know if this is my fairy my fairy blood that's made it more difficult, but I realized that it's okay to set a date. So when you want someone out, or you're setting a boundary, like I was like, okay, you need to move out or whatever, and I just thought that they would be conscious enough to make it happen, but
Mhm.
2 months later didn't happen. And so yeah, recently I'm like, oh, it's not mean if I say you need to be out by this date, or this needs to
Right.
happen by this date. That's not
That's another example of it's not their boundary, so they're not going to
yeah,
hold. We have to hold our boundary. It's not theirs. They're like, well, she said I got to get out, but I really don't want to, and I'll do it
yeah,
on. You can say, I've and I love, this is a great something that women can use. I love this phrase, is in order to honor myself. I'm
mm,
I'm requesting that I've decided, or in order to honor myself, and it really makes you feel like you're not being rude, you're not being a bitch,
yes,
you're honoring yourself, what you need to thrive and to be okay. And if
yes.
someone has to move out, you can't live with them, well, that's what's going to have to happen. Yeah,
In order to honor myself. I love
yeah,
that so
I mean,
much, Marla.
yeah, that's one of my favorites.
So I'd love to hear now, what your non-negotiable spiritual practice? So maybe something that you do every day, or something that you'll always go back to when you're not feeling great.
Yeah, I like to tune in with I take my crystals and I'll tune in with them. Channeling my guides, love that. The pendulum, I love to use a lot. I'll use the pendulum to ask questions, even about my health, or is this good for me? And I like doing pendulum work. I love my singing bowl here. The sound, the sound, and I say
Mm,
it every day. Meditation I'll do sometimes, and sometimes I'll go for days and I don't do it, but but what's something is interesting, and maybe people can tune in and see if they can feel it too. But when I say, okay, I'm going to be tuning in right now, or doing some spiritual work, energy work, I start feeling some energy right here at the head, like it's
mm.
the guides are there. You can feel them at your crown touching, or there, you can kind of feel it. Yeah, energy work is something I do. I do, like tonight, I'm doing a distance energy healing for somebody. You can get that on my website. So distance doesn't matter. They're there laying down, and I send them some music from YouTube that I'm listening to. It's beautiful. And then they're just receiving. And sometimes they'll feel like a touch, or like a feather, or some heat, or, and then they'll share after. So really my favorite practices that I do most of the time are the energy healing, the tuning in with the guides, pendulums, sound, some sound healing. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you
Oh,
so
and then of
much for
course my
sharing.
cards, my tarot cards, they're always here. So I'm always pulling I mean, I just love my cards.
Yes, me too. So, what is something that has helped you? I know that you've mentioned a few things, but is there anything else that has helped you on your journey? So, this could be a specific healing, a book, a quote, just anything else that you'd like to share. And again, I'll link that book that you mentioned, that boundary work book that you
Oh,
mentioned,
yeah.
and anything else that you mentioned. I'll link all of this in the show notes too.
Wonderful.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, the book by Nancy Levin and that's the book that if you work with me in the coaching, you'll be getting, you order that book, and then we go through the book as well. It's called Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free.
Okay.
And then my book, my two spiritual memoirs are The Buddha Made Me Do It, A Field Guide to Enlightenment, and The Magic Seeker is my latest one. And in The Magic Seeker, I take such a deep dive, even deeper into everything. And now I would say what I write about in there is the thing that's helped me the most is the plant medicine journeys, working with plant medicine, sacred shamanic journeying, where you're really working with that plant. It could be people use ayahuasca or psilocybin mushrooms or different things, right? And then it really literally takes you into another dimension. You start channeling and clearing out past lives, resetting your nervous system. It's not for everyone, but for me, it's been life changing. And I just, it's the most magical thing I've ever done. And I've got that fairy too. I've got a lot of fairy, and I channel fairy.
Yeah.
I channel fairy through when I'm in doing the journeys too. I've started. The fairies came through. It was so cool. Each the Pleiadians and the fairy came through.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, no, I can definitely feel your fairy energy for sure.
You can look at fairy. We can see. You know.
Yeah. Yes. So I'll link in your website, your podcast, and your YouTube channel. Is there any other way that's best for listeners to get in contact with you if they'd like to continue on with this work that you're doing?
Yeah, the best thing is just go to my website, marlamartenson.com, get on my newsletter. You can put your email in and then you get a free, I think it's the high frequency meditation. Also on the boundary coaching page, there's a free boundary guided meditation to help you set boundaries. You can grab that too. And then that way I send out a newsletter every week and you know what's the offerings, what's going on. And that's probably the best way. Just get on my newsletter. I don't send a ton out or spam or anything. It's just some fun, like every week, something fun, little thing. And then join one of my circles. It's $10. My magical message circle is only $10 on the Saturday nights. And you can, sign up on my website, and it's great. It's like for an hour, and just a great way to spend an hour together, connecting, getting messages, energy healing, taking you through a visualization. And it's just my way to connect and give back and support everybody, because we've all had a hard time these past year and a half, couple of years. But everybody's had something. It's really like unearthed a lot in us, and we've all learned something through this, grown, stretched. Even if there was great loss, we can always mine for the lesson, right? We can always find the lesson, the growth in it.
Yes, 100%. Well, this has been incredible, Marla. It's really interesting also how these interviews and, particular topics that I explore on this podcast are so accurate to my life right now. It's really, so I 100% have gotten so much from this interview. I think your coaching sounds amazing. All of your offerings sound incredible. And yeah, thanks again for taking this time to chat with me.
Thank you, Pixie. Bye, everyone. Much love.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Marla Martenson. I know I really, really got a lot of value from it. And if you really resonated with what we were talking about today around boundaries or connecting with your intuition or any of the topics that we discussed, check out Marla's website, get in contact with her, and do some boundary coaching. Also, look out for some collaborations between Marla and I. I really believe in her work. She's a very gifted, intuitive being and really connected with what's going on in the world right now. So I highly recommend, if you really loved what you heard, get in contact with Marla, sign up for her newsletter. You can also sign up for my newsletter. Check out my website in the show notes at pixiesteps.com.au. And remember, even if your wings have been clipped off, they can always regrow.